The distant planet was cold and silent. In the dim light of a red sun, a small human outpost stood alone on a rocky plain. This was a place of quiet routine and hard work. The outpost was built to explore new worlds and gather knowledge about the many mysteries of space. Among the crew was a skilled explorer known simply as the Wanderer. The Wanderer had spent many years learning how to survive in harsh environments and had earned a reputation for bravery and quick thinking. One evening, as the Wanderer finished a day of collecting data and samples from the planet's surface, an unexpected alarm sounded throughout the outpost. The red skies that had been calm began to swirl with strange lights. At first, the crew thought the alarm might be a glitch or a warning of a sudden storm. However, soon they realized something was wrong. In a flash, the peaceful routine was shattered. Without warning, a group of advanced alien ships descended from the swirling sky. Their design was unlike any human technology. Sleek and smooth, these vessels moved with an eerie grace. The Wanderer, who was exploring a rocky ridge at the time, saw the ships approaching with a speed that left little time to react. Before the Wanderer could return to the outpost, a beam of light enveloped him, and he felt a sudden, heavy pull. In moments, he was lifted from the ground and carried away from everything he knew. The journey in the beam of light was both disorienting and silent. The Wanderer's mind raced with questions. Who were these beings? What did they want with him? When the light finally faded, he found himself inside a large chamber filled with a soft, pulsing glow. The walls of the room shone with strange symbols and patterns that moved slowly as if alive. The air was cool and still. It was clear that he was no longer on his own planet. Soon, he was escorted along a long corridor by silent, graceful beings. Their features were delicate yet firm, and they moved with a purpose that suggested great importance. At the end of the corridor, the Wanderer was brought into a vast chamber. At the center of the chamber, on a raised platform, sat the alien queen. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Tall and regal, the queen had eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe. Her skin shimmered with a subtle glow, and her presence commanded respect without the need for harsh words. The queen's voice was calm and steady when she addressed him. "Wanderer," she said, her tone both gentle and strong, "you are here not by chance. I have watched your people from afar and have learned of your strength and spirit. Today, I offer you a choice. Your freedom is in my hands, and I propose a deal that could change the fate of us both." The Wanderer felt a mix of emotions. Fear and confusion warred with a deep sense of wonder. He listened as the queen explained that her empire was at a turning point. For many years, her people had lived in peace and order. Yet now, external threats and internal strife had placed the empire in danger. She believed that the unique qualities of the human spirit, courage, creativity, and determination, could help her guide her people through these dark times. The queen continued, "I offer you your freedom in exchange for becoming my mate, not as a mark of possession, but as a symbol of alliance. Together, we can blend the best of our worlds and bring hope to our people." Her words were clear and filled with a sincere belief in the power of unity. The idea was unlike anything the Wanderer had ever imagined. It was a proposal that carried great risk, but also the promise of a new beginning. Standing there before the queen, the Wanderer felt the weight of the decision. In his heart, he knew that the offer was not simply about escape or survival. It was about trust, cooperation, and the possibility of a future that went beyond the small confines of his human outpost. Yet, the choice was difficult. He thought of his family, his friends, and all that he had left behind. The thought of leaving his people was painful, even as the idea of a new life filled him with hope. The chamber was silent for a long moment as the Wanderer weighed the queen's words. The air seemed to hum with the energy of ancient customs and a deep, unspoken understanding. He could see that this was not a random act of capture, but a carefully considered decision by a leader who had seen many challenges and knew the strength that came from unity. With slow, deliberate steps, the Wanderer bowed his head in respect. Though his heart pounded with uncertainty, he felt the stirrings of courage rising within him. The Queen's offer was more than a bargain for freedom. It was an invitation to join two worlds and create a new legacy together. The journey ahead was unknown and fraught with challenges, but the promise of a brighter future was too strong to ignore. Thus, in that quiet, glowing chamber aboard an alien vessel, the wanderer accepted the Queen's proposal. With his decision made, his life was forever changed. The first step of an extraordinary adventure had begun, one that would test his resolve, reshape his destiny, and unite two very different peoples in the face of great uncertainty. Into the mysterious alien ship. Time had lost its meaning while being swiftly carried across unknown distances. A soft hum filled the air, and the surroundings became more intricate with each passing moment. The ship, with its shimmering hull and otherworldly design, felt both ancient and advanced at once. Winding corridors led into vast chambers, each one full of strange symbols and light that seemed to pulse with life. Eventually, the journey came to a stop, and the wanderer was greeted by a pair of alien guards whose presence seemed both imposing and silently respectful. Their features were delicate but firm, their movements sharp and purposeful. They led him through another hallway, which felt like walking through the veins of a living creature, until they arrived at a large open space. A balcony overlooked a sprawling city that shimmered just beyond the windows like something from a dream. Below, through what seemed like floating structures, the empire moved with mechanical precision. It was clearly a society built on order, efficiency, and advancement. The wanderer's gaze was drawn upward. The citadel, as it was called, towered high above the city below, with shining walls that seemed to reflect the stars themselves. It was the heart of the alien queen's realm, and it was both beautiful and intimidating. As the guards guided him forward, the wanderer could not help but feel like an outsider in a world too grand and complex for him to comprehend. They arrived before a wide set of doors, and as they opened, the wanderer was led into the heart of the citadel. He stepped into a massive chamber that looked as though it had been carved from the living rock of the planet itself. The walls were etched with glowing ancient symbols, shifting and moving as if alive, and the air smelled of strange, fragrant flowers mixed with the scent of metal and stone. In the center of the room, high upon a platform, sat the alien queen. If her presence before had been imposing, it was nothing compared to the aura she exuded now. The queen sat in a throne made of materials that defied understanding. It shimmered in such a way that the light seemed to bend around it. Her posture was regal, her eyes steady, watching the wanderer carefully. Upon meeting her gaze, he suddenly felt a strange connection. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, and yet he understood that this was the being who held the power to change his fate, and perhaps the future of both their worlds. The alien queen gestured with a smooth curve of her hand toward a seat beside her, inviting the wanderer to sit. He hesitated, unsure, but obeyed. It was becoming clearer that this was not some hostile encounter, but a conversation that could reshape the course of his life. "Welcome to my citadel," the queen said, her voice soft and welcoming, yet firm with leadership. "You stand in the heart of an empire that has known peace for thousands of years. But now, as I told you, there is a great turmoil. We face threats internally and from strange forces beyond our known borders. Forces that threaten both our way of life and our future." The wanderer listened intently, noticing the gravity in the queen's tone. She was not speaking from a place of mere politeness or formality. Instead, it was as if she was sharing something deeply personal, something that mattered beyond politics or war. "Our people are strong," she continued, "but we are lacking something vital. My warriors are powerful, my engineers inventive, but what we lack is adaptability. What we lack are the qualities that humanity is known for. You and your people possess the strength to survive in the most dire circumstances. You create, you innovate, and your courage in the face of danger is unlike any I've known." For a brief moment, the wanderer felt a swell of pride for humanity's resilience, a reminder that even when facing extinction, People like him believed in pushing forward against the odds. The Queen, it seemed, had studied him, his people, and their history. What was it, he wondered, that had made him so interesting to her? "I've long observed your species from afar," the Queen continued, her eyes fixing on his in a way that made him feel as though she could see far deeper than the surface of just one person. "And I have come to understand something that others here have not. What you call the human spirit, we can learn from that. Together, we can take the merging of our worlds to heights that neither side could achieve alone." The Wanderer had never imagined that he would stand here, on this strange world, confronted with such a powerful creature offering him a place by her side. Her words began to sink deeper into his thoughts. What was she asking from him? Truly, she continued, her tone shifting slightly, as though reading his mind, "I offered you a choice when we first met. I offer you my people's trust. Will you help us? Will you partner with me, not only for your freedom, but to shape a new future for both of our civilizations?" Her eyes never left his. It was as though she was allowing him the space to decide, but also urging him to understand the weight of the moment. He could feel the history of her people, the pressure of their rising difficulties, and the opportunity that lay before him in her words. Months ago, he had been an explorer from a small outpost, leading a life that was grounded in routine and research. But today, he faced an offer of complexity beyond any mission he had ever undertaken. His mind raced with thoughts of home, of his people back on Earth. But even as these thoughts surged within him, another desire began to form, a curiosity to see what it was that such a powerful being dreamed of. And perhaps, just perhaps, this was not just about saving an alien kingdom. Maybe with this Queen, he could become part of something even greater, a bridge between two worlds at a time of great need. For 25 seconds. Part 2. Arrival at the Regal Citadel. After the Wanderer accepted the Queen's proposal, his journey took him deeper into the unknown. The alien ship traveled smoothly through space until it reached a vibrant planet that was both strange and beautiful. As the vessel landed, the Wanderer looked out the window and saw a landscape filled with soft, rolling hills, colorful vegetation, and a clear, gentle sky. It was a place where nature and technology worked in harmony. When the ship's doors opened, the Wanderer stepped out into a grand hall that led to the heart of the citadel. The hall was vast, with tall ceilings and walls made of polished stone that seemed to glow under a soft ambient light. Simple carvings and symbols decorated the walls, each one hinting at a long, proud history of the alien people. The air felt cool and calm, and every sound was measured and gentle, as if the citadel itself was alive with quiet purpose. The citadel was built in a circular shape, with graceful arches and domed roofs that reached toward the sky. Its design was both strong and elegant, a perfect blend of art and engineering. The Wanderer walked along the long corridors and found himself surrounded by beings who moved with calm determination. Each one carried out their work with care, and it was clear that everyone in this place had a role in keeping the Empire safe and thriving. In the center of the citadel lay a spacious courtyard filled with beautiful gardens. The gardens were alive with plants of many shapes and colors, and small water fountains bubbled gently among winding streams. The soft sound of water and the sweet scent of the plants brought a sense of peace and balance. Here, old traditions met new ideas, and the beauty of nature mixed with hints of advanced technology. The Wanderer felt a deep curiosity about the ways in which the aliens honored their past while embracing the future. A kind and wise assistant, one of the Queen's trusted aides, guided the Wanderer through the bustling corridors of the citadel. This guide spoke in simple, clear language and explained that the citadel was the center of the empire. It was here that the Queen held her councils, and where important decisions were made to help protect and grow their society. With every step, the Wanderer learned more about a culture that valued knowledge, wisdom, and cooperation. The guide led him to a quiet room where he could rest and reflect on all that he had seen. The room was modest yet inviting, with soft light streaming through large windows that cast colorful patterns on the floor. Comfortable cushions and a table of smooth stone made the space a perfect place for contemplation. Sitting quietly, the wanderer thought about the promise the queen had made and about the great responsibility that now rested on his shoulders. He began to understand that this new world was not only a stronghold of power, but also a center of art, science, and community. The citadel was filled with libraries that held ancient texts, laboratories where curious minds worked on new ideas, and open halls where music and art celebrated life. The wanderer felt both a sense of wonder and a deep respect for the balance that the alien society had achieved. As the day turned into evening, the wanderer was invited to walk along a long balcony that overlooked the entire citadel. From this high place, he could see the organized beauty of the gardens, the steady flow of people moving through the halls, and the gentle glow of the buildings that lit up the twilight. Above him, the sky was clear, and as the stars began to appear one by one, he felt a strong connection to the vast universe beyond. The peaceful scene from the balcony filled him with hope. He saw not only the beauty of the citadel, but also the potential for new beginnings. The alien people, with their strong sense of community and deep respect for both tradition and innovation, had built a home that was welcoming and full of promise. The wanderer realized that his arrival here was not a mistake or a mere accident. It was the start of a new chapter where two very different worlds might come together for a greater purpose. In that moment, as he looked at the starry sky and felt the gentle hum of the citadel around him, the wanderer understood that his journey was just beginning. He felt a mixture of excitement and determination. He knew that there would be challenges ahead, and that the path before him would be filled with both tests of strength and moments of deep learning. Yet he also saw the promise of a future where his own qualities, courage, creativity, and kindness, could help build bridges between his world and this new, remarkable place. With a calm resolve, the wanderer stepped back from the balcony, ready to learn more about the citadel and its people. He walked back into the corridors with a sense of purpose, each step echoing his commitment to the queen's vision. The citadel, with its blend of ancient tradition and forward-thinking ideas, had already begun to change him. In this place, every stone, every whisper of the wind, and every soft light seemed to tell a story of hope, unity, and the power of understanding. Thus, in the heart of the regal citadel, the wanderer embarked on a journey of discovery. His new life was full of promise, and as he moved through the corridors of history and modernity, he knew that every moment here inside a quiet chamber with soft, glowing lights, the wanderer sat at a long table made of smooth, pale stone. The room was calm, filled with a gentle hum, as if the walls themselves whispered old, secret stories. On the other side of the table, the alien queen sat with an air of calm dignity. Her eyes, deep and knowing, met the wanderers with both care and quiet strength. The queen spoke first in a soft, clear voice. "I have brought you here because I believe our destinies are now linked. Your strength, your spirit, and your courage have reached my eyes from afar. I see in you the qualities that can bring hope and change to my people." The wanderer listened carefully. His heart still beat quickly after the long journey from his home. "I am honored by your words," he said slowly, "but I still do not understand everything. I agree to your offer of freedom, yet you speak of becoming your mate. What does this mean for me and for my people?" The queen leaned forward slightly, her expression serious but gentle. "Being my mate is not a matter of control or possession. It is a bond built on trust, respect, and the promise of unity. In our union, we will join our strengths and combine the best of both our worlds. This is a commitment to work together for a future that benefits not only my empire, but also your people." The room was filled with silence for a few long moments as the wanderer pondered her words. He thought of the hardships he had faced, the family and friends he had left behind, and the dreams of a life that could mean more than mere survival. "I see that this is not a simple decision," he said at last. "It is a duty that will require me to learn, to change, and to merge parts of my world with yours. How can we make this work when our lives and traditions are so different? The queen's eyes softened further as she replied, I do not expect our path to be without challenges. I have observed your people and know that the human spirit is strong and resilient. Your creativity, your passion, and your determination can help guide us through difficult times. I propose that we build a bridge between our cultures. We will honor your traditions while embracing the wisdom of change. In this way, our union will be a symbol of hope, a promise that unity can bring strength and new beginnings. The wanderer's mind raced with thoughts of a new future, a future that combined the best of both his own world and the alien realm. He looked at the queen and saw in her not just a ruler, but a leader who believed in a future built on trust and cooperation. If I join you, he asked quietly, will I still be able to share my ideas? Will my culture and beliefs be respected, even as I become part of your world? The queen nodded, a sincere smile gracing her face. Your voice will be heard. I value the wisdom and spirit of your people, and I promise that your traditions will not be lost. Instead, they will enrich our society. In our union, we will learn from one another, and together we will create a future that respects the past while welcoming change. As their conversation continued, the atmosphere in the chamber grew lighter, filled with the promise of a shared destiny. The queen explained that her empire was facing new challenges, problems that could not be solved by tradition alone. She needed someone who could bring fresh ideas and a brave heart to help guide her people through troubled times. I ask you to stand with me as my mate, she said, not only as a partner in title, but as someone who will share in the struggles and the triumphs that lie ahead. Together, we will write a new chapter for our worlds. The wanderer took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision settle upon him. He thought of the duty before him and the new life he might build in this strange and beautiful empire. I accept your proposal, he said at last, his voice steady. I will join you not only for my own freedom, but because I believe in the future you have described. I promise to bring my best self, my ideas, and my respect for all that I have known. The queen's face brightened with gentle warmth. Then let us begin this journey together, she replied. We will face the challenges that come our way as one. Our bond will be a light to guide both our peoples, a symbol that even in the face of great differences, unity and understanding can bring hope. At that moment, the delicate negotiation was complete. In that quiet, softly lit chamber, the wanderer and the alien queen forged an agreement that was much more than a simple exchange. It was the start of a partnership built on respect, trust, and a shared vision of the future. The room, filled with ancient symbols and the gentle hum of life, bore silent witness to their new bond. As they rose from the table, the promise of their union filled the space with a sense of peace and resolve. The wanderer felt a mixture of hope and determination. He knew that many challenges still lay ahead, but now he was not alone. With the queen by his side, he was ready to face whatever trials the future might bring. Together, they stepped forward into a new dawn, their hearts united in the belief that two very different worlds could come together to create a future full of promise and understanding. As the days turned into weeks, the wanderer began to settle into his new life at the citadel. He found himself working side by side with the citizens of the alien empire, learning their customs and sharing stories of his own world. Every morning, he rose with a sense of purpose and curiosity, eager to learn something new about this land that had become both strange and welcoming. The quiet corridors and spacious gardens of the citadel soon became a place of discovery, where the past and future met in gentle harmony. Each day, the wanderer attended meetings with the queen's trusted advisors. In these gatherings, he listened carefully to discussions about the challenges facing the empire. There were talks of trade, the management of resources, and the need for new ideas to solve old problems. The wanderer soon realized that the alien people valued both tradition and innovation. They believed that wisdom from the past could light the way to a better future, a belief that resonated deeply with him. With his own unique perspective, he began to offer suggestions that blended human creativity with the discipline of the alien society. One afternoon, the Wanderer joined a small team sent on a joint mission to restore an ancient energy conduit in one of the outer districts of the Citadel. This task was not only a test of his technical skill, but also a chance to build trust with the alien engineers. As he worked alongside them, he discovered that his ability to think outside the box complemented the precise methods used by his new colleagues. While they followed detailed plans and strict protocols, his fresh ideas sometimes opened up simpler, more effective ways to solve problems. The team learned to value his approach, and soon, his suggestions became an integral part of the project. In every handshake and shared smile, the boundaries between two worlds began to soften. At the same time, the Wanderer also made time to learn about the cultural arts of the alien people. He spent quiet evenings in the Citadel's library, poring over ancient texts and inscriptions that told the history of the Empire. Slowly, he came to understand the symbols and stories that had shaped their society. In turn, he shared tales from his own world, stories of courage, family, and the simple beauty of life on Earth. These exchanges were not only educational. They were a bridge between two very different ways of living. The citizens began to see the strength and warmth in the human spirit, and many welcomed his ideas as a breath of fresh air in a world that sometimes felt weighed down by old traditions. The Queen herself took notice of these small but significant acts of cultural exchange. She observed the way the Wanderer listened intently to both the advisors and the common citizens, and how his gentle manner earned him respect. During one quiet evening in the palace gardens, the Queen walked with him along a path lit by soft, bioluminescent flowers. "You are helping us see our world in a new light," she said, her voice calm and encouraging. "Your ideas bring a balance that we have long needed. It is in these moments that our two worlds truly begin to merge." Her words filled the Wanderer with a strong sense of responsibility and hope. As time passed, the Wanderer's role in the Citadel grew more important. He was invited to join councils where major decisions were made, and he found that his perspective was valued by many who once viewed him as an outsider. Even the most skeptical advisors began to acknowledge that the human spirit, marked by resilience, creativity, and an innate sense of fairness, could be a powerful asset in the governance of the Empire. With every decision, every plan, and every small success, the bond between him and the citizens of the alien realm strengthened. They saw him not as a remnant of a distant planet, but as a friend and partner in the shared quest for a better future. In return, the Wanderer began to see his own past and identity in a new light. The simple lessons of survival and perseverance that he had learned back on Earth found new meaning in this vibrant, living citadel. He realized that while the customs and ways of the alien people were different from his own, there were universal truths that connected them all: a desire for peace, a commitment to progress, and a deep respect for life. His own culture, with its rich history of struggle and triumph, had much to offer the alien society. In this exchange, both sides grew richer, learning that the merging of worlds was not a loss of identity, but a celebration of diversity. Thus, the Wanderer's journey of bridging two worlds continued each day. His work, his words, and his willingness to listen created a new path forward, one where differences were celebrated and strengths multiplied. The Citadel, once a place of strict order and solemn tradition, slowly transformed into a beacon of unity and hope. Here, in the heart of a once divided empire, the seeds of a new future were planted, one nurtured by trust, understanding, and the courage to embrace change. In every conversation, every shared moment of laughter and quiet reflection, the Wanderer built a bridge between the past and the future, between two very different cultures. And in doing so, he showed that when people come together with respect and openness, even the most unlikely alliances can blossom into something truly extraordinary. The sun hung low over the citadel, casting long golden rays across the marble pathways. The Wanderer had spent weeks learning, adapting, and sharing his knowledge with the alien people. Slowly, he had earned their trust, and his presence was no longer a strange novelty, but a welcomed part of daily life. He was no longer just an outsider. He was a bridge between two worlds, However, peace never lasted for long. One morning, as the Wanderer was assisting in a training session for young scholars, an urgent call echoed through the citadel. The royal messengers rushed into the main hall, their expressions tense. The queen was already present, her sharp gaze fixed on the incoming news. "The border outposts have been attacked," one of the messengers reported. "Unknown forces have breached our defenses. They move fast, using tactics we have not seen before." The room fell into a heavy silence. The queen's advisors exchanged worried glances, while the soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons. The empire had faced conflicts before, but this was different. The enemy was using unfamiliar strategies that seemed unpredictable, adaptive, almost human. The Wanderer listened carefully, his mind racing. He had seen similar patterns before. This was the kind of rapid, evolving warfare that humans often used in battle, creative, unconventional, and effective. He knew that if the enemy was moving in such a way, the Empire's traditional defenses would not be enough to stop them. The queen turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "You understand this kind of warfare," she said. "Your people have faced such challenges before. What would you do?" For a moment, the Wanderer hesitated. It was one thing to offer advice on cultural exchange or problem-solving within the citadel, but this was war. Lives were at stake. He took a deep breath, pushing aside his doubts. He had been brought here for a reason, and now was the time to prove that his presence truly mattered. "We need to change the way we defend the borders," he said, his voice steady. "Your soldiers fight with discipline and precision, but they are predictable. If the enemy is using unpredictable tactics, we must become just as adaptable. We cannot wait for them to attack again. We need to move first." The advisors looked skeptical, but the queen nodded. "Explain your plan." The Wanderer quickly outlined a strategy: small, mobile teams instead of large, stationary formations, flexible defense lines that could shift with the battle, and the use of deception to lure the enemy into traps rather than meeting them head-on. He drew from the strategies of human history, from the guerrilla fighters of ancient wars to the modern special forces who turned the tide of battle through intelligence and adaptability. At first, some of the advisors protested. "This is not the way we fight," one of them said. "Our warriors are trained in honor and discipline, not in chaotic tactics." The Wanderer met their objections with calm logic. "Honor is not in how you fight," he said. "It is in why you fight. You fight to protect your people, your homes, and your future. The enemy has already chosen their path. If we do not adapt, they will overpower us." The queen remained silent for a moment before finally speaking. "His words hold wisdom," she said. "We must act, and we must act now." With the queen's approval, preparations began immediately. The Wanderer worked alongside the generals, training soldiers in the new tactics. He demonstrated the power of adaptability, showing them how a smaller force could defeat a larger one by using speed and intelligence rather than brute strength. The training was difficult, and there was resistance at first, but as the warriors began to see results, their trust in the Wanderer grew. Days later, the enemy struck again, expecting to meet a rigid, defensive force. Instead, they were met with something unexpected. The Empire's warriors moved differently, faster, smarter, unpredictable. The enemy found themselves caught in ambushes, surrounded by fighters who seemed to be everywhere at once. They were forced into retreat, unable to predict the movements of their opponents. By the end of the battle, the Empire stood victorious. The Queen's forces, once traditional and inflexible, had evolved. They had adapted, and in doing so, they had not only saved their lands, but had proven that change was not weakness, it was strength. When the Wanderer returned to the citadel, he was met with cheers and gratitude. The warriors he had trained saluted him with respect, and even the most skeptical advisors acknowledged his role in the victory. The Queen stood before her people and spoke with pride. "This day marks not just a battle won, but a new path for our empire. We have learned that wisdom comes not only from tradition, but from the courage to embrace new ways. Our alliance with the Wanderer has brought us strength, and together, we will continue to grow. The Wanderer felt a deep sense of belonging. He had not only proven his worth, but had helped shape the future of the Empire. He knew that challenges would continue to arise, but he also knew that together, they could face anything. As the citadel celebrated, he stood beside the Queen, looking out at the horizon. The future was uncertain, but it was full of possibility. And for the first time since he had arrived in this alien world, he knew with certainty he was exactly where he was meant to be. The celebration of victory was short-lived. Though the Empire had defended itself against the recent attack, the enemy had not been destroyed. Scouts reported that the invaders were regrouping, gathering more forces at the outskirts of the Empire's borders. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The Wanderer stood in the grand hall of the citadel, surrounded by the Queen's advisors, military leaders, and trusted allies. A large map of the Empire was projected in front of them, showing the movement of enemy forces. The tension in the room was heavy, like a storm waiting to break. The Queen's voice was calm but firm. "We have delayed their advance, but they will strike again. This time, with greater force. We must prepare." The generals spoke of fortifying defenses, setting up stronger barriers, and increasing patrols. But the Wanderer knew that walls and shields alone would not win this war. He stepped forward, meeting the Queen's gaze. "If we wait for them to come to us, we will always be on the defensive. We must take the fight to them." A murmur spread through the room. The idea of attacking first was not the way the Empire had fought before. Their warriors were disciplined, their battles honorable. But honor alone would not ensure survival. The Wanderer had seen many wars in human history, and he knew that in times like these, bold action was necessary. The Queen considered his words. "What do you propose?" The Wanderer pointed to the enemy's stronghold on the map. "They expect us to hide behind our walls, to wait for them. But what if, instead, we strike them where they are weakest? They are gathering supplies, preparing their forces. If we attack before they are ready, we can break their will before the battle even begins." One of the older generals frowned. "To go into their territory is a great risk. If we fail, we will have no defense left." The Wanderer nodded. "But if we succeed, we can end this war before it truly begins." The Queen looked around the room, reading the expressions of her advisors. She saw doubt in some, hesitation in others. But she also saw hope, the realization that change, though difficult, could lead to victory. Finally, she turned back to the Wanderer. "Then we will do what must be done. We will not wait for destruction to come to us. We will face it head-on." The next days were spent in preparation. Small, highly trained units were assembled, ready to move with speed and precision. Unlike the traditional armies of the Empire, these warriors had been trained in the Wanderer's tactics, unpredictable, strategic, and efficient. On the night of the mission, the Wanderer stood alongside the Queen's finest warriors, preparing for the most dangerous task he had ever faced. The Queen herself came to see them off. She placed a hand on the Wanderer's shoulder, her eyes filled with trust. "Return victorious," she said. "Our future depends on it." Under the cover of darkness, the strike team moved swiftly across the landscape. The enemy stronghold was heavily guarded, but they were not expecting an attack this soon. Using stealth and careful planning, the Wanderer and his team infiltrated the outpost, striking at key locations. Explosions lit up the night sky as supply depots were destroyed, leaving the enemy without resources. The battle was fierce, and the enemy, though caught off guard, fought back with desperation. But the Wanderer and his team were relentless. They moved with speed and purpose, striking fast before disappearing into the shadows. Confusion spread through the enemy ranks, their commanders struggling to understand what was happening. At the peak of the battle, the Wanderer faced one of the enemy leaders, a towering warrior, armored in dark metal. Their fight was brutal, every strike a test of strength and skill. But the Wanderer had not come this far to fail. With a final decisive move, he disarmed his opponent and forced him to surrender. The remaining enemy forces, seeing their leader defeated and their stronghold in flames, began to retreat. The battle was over. The Empire had won, not through brute force, but through intelligence, strategy, and the will to fight for a better future. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, the Wanderer and his team returned to the Citadel. They were greeted as heroes. The war was not just about weapons and soldiers. It was about proving that adaptation and unity were the greatest strengths of all. The Queen stood at the gates of the Citadel, waiting for the Wanderer. As he approached, she smiled, a rare, genuine smile. "You have done more than win a battle," she said. "You have changed the course of history." The Wanderer looked around at the people of the Empire, their faces filled with hope and admiration. He had come to this world as an outsider, but now he was part of something greater. The war was over, but his journey was not. Together, he and the Queen had forged a new path, one that would shape the destiny of both their worlds. And as he looked toward the future, he knew that this was only the beginning. The sun rose over the Citadel, casting golden light over the tall spires and winding pathways. The air was filled with quiet relief, the kind that followed a hard-fought victory. The Empire had survived the war, and for the first time in years, there was peace. The Wanderer stood on a high balcony, looking out at the city below. He could see the people moving about their daily lives, free from fear, their hearts lighter than they had been in a long time. He had come to this world as a stranger, a prisoner, then an ally. Now he was something more. He was a part of this place, bound to its future in ways he never expected. A soft voice broke the silence behind him. "The war is over, and yet you still look troubled." The Wanderer turned to see the alien Queen standing beside him. She looked different now, more at ease, as if a great burden had been lifted from her shoulders. And in a way, it had. Her empire was safe, her people were victorious, and the darkness that had threatened their world had been pushed away. He exhaled and gave a small smile. "Peace is unfamiliar," he admitted. "After so much fighting, it feels strange." The Queen nodded, gazing out at the horizon. "That is the curse of warriors," she said softly. "When the battle is done, we must learn how to live again." The Wanderer thought about that. His whole life had been about survival, on distant planets, in dangerous missions, and now in an empire that had once been foreign to him. He had fought with everything he had, not just with weapons, but with ideas, with strategy, with the power of human adaptability. And now, standing here, he realized that the greatest challenge was not the war itself, but what came after. The Queen turned to him, her gaze steady. "You have earned your freedom, as I promised. If you wish, you may return to your world." The words hung in the air between them. The offer was genuine. He had completed his part of the bargain. He had fought for the Empire, saved its people, and changed the course of its history. He was free to go. But as he looked around, at the Empire he had helped protect, at the people who had become his friends, he realized that this place had become more than just a temporary home. He had built something here, something worth staying for. He turned back to the Queen. "And if I choose to stay?" A small smile touched her lips. "Then you will stay, not as a prisoner, nor as a soldier, but as my partner. This empire is no longer just mine to rule. It belongs to us both now." The weight of her words settled over him. He had never considered himself a ruler. He had never wanted power. But what he did want was purpose. And here, in this place, he had found it. The people had already begun to see him not as an outsider, but as one of their own. He had changed the way they fought, the way they thought. And in return, they had changed him. They had given him a chance to be something more than just a wandering explorer. Slowly, he nodded. "Then I will stay. There is still much to build, much to learn." The Queen's expression softened, as if she had known his answer before he had spoken it. "Together, we will shape a future where both our worlds can thrive." That evening, the Empire held a great celebration. not just for victory, but for the future. The people gathered in the grand courtyard, filling the air with music, laughter, and the sounds of a new beginning. The streets were alive with glowing lanterns, and the scent of exotic flowers filled the air. It was a moment of unity, a time to remember the past and step forward into something greater. The Wanderer stood beside the queen as she addressed her people. Her voice carried strength and wisdom. This victory is not just mine, nor yours alone. It belongs to all of us. We have proven that when we stand together, when we embrace the strengths of different worlds, we become something unstoppable. We are no longer just an empire. We are a beacon for the future. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices rising like a wave of hope across the city. And for the first time, the Wanderer felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt at home. As the night stretched on, he walked through the city, speaking with the people, sharing stories, laughing and listening. He had spent so much of his life drifting, searching for a purpose, and now he had found one. The war had changed him. The empire had changed him. And now, standing among these people who had once been strangers, but were now his kin, he knew that this was where he was meant to be. As the stars shone brightly above the citadel, the Wanderer understood one final truth. His journey was far from over. There would be new challenges, new discoveries, and new paths to forge. But he would face them not alone, not as a captive, but as a leader, a friend, and an equal. The alien queen had made him an offer once, freedom in exchange for becoming her mate. But in the end, it had never been about a bargain. It had been about trust, about unity, about building something greater than either of them could have alone. And now, as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, the future stood wide open before them. A future of two worlds, bound not by chains or war, but by choice, by hope, by a new dawn.